Hi, everyone. I see first people already joining, slowly but surely. But we're a bit early anyway, so we have time to wait for everyone that wants to join us in today's app talk session. Very much looking forward to today's session, I have to say. Yeah, let's wait a minute longer, then we can get started with the poll. And I'm very happy to have today's topic because it's very interesting, at least from my point of view. I hope you think the same since you joined the webinar. But yeah, hello to the people who are coming in. While we wait for everyone to join, I would like to start a poll that I had prepared. It would be awesome if you could join in. I'm curious to see how many of you are already localizing your store listing, and if yes, in what way. So feel free to join in. It's always interesting. So we can also, see if we can answer something that you might not know already. First answers are coming in. That's pretty cool. Thank you. So I don't know how many of you live in Europe, but we do. You know, Opacak is based in Austria. And Mark Zuckerberg announced that he was pulling Facebook and Instagram out of the European market. And I was pretty shocked because I really much enjoy spending my time on Instagram, I have to admit. And yeah, maybe you could all send me an email with alternative social media channels that I could switch to if this really happens. And if not, maybe to move to a different continent. But yeah, cool. Let's have a first look into the poll answers. For the first question, which was, are you localizing your store listing? 73% of you said that they are already. Pretty cool. Good job. And the second question, how you are doing it. Most of you actually have in-house natives. That's awesome. I can't believe that you have so many people that speak so many languages. I mean, we do too, but of course, that's part of our service here at Opacak. And yeah. Good. Then I would stop the poll if this is fine for you. Thank you all for joining in. I would actually get started with today's agenda. Cool, thank you, Ilija. So what are we going to talk about today? We will talk about what is localization and why we should care. Then we will look into how to do keyword research for multiple locales and how we can adapt our store listing, and of course some tips and tricks how to do this all in our tool. And so quickly, who am I? I'm Rebecca. I'm a junior customer success manager here at Opacak, and today I'm here with the lovely Elena and Ilija. So please, could you introduce yourselves shortly before we get started? Sorry, before you introduce yourselves, I forgot something very important. Guys, if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A section. We will talk about it in the end, and stay until the end because we have a surprise for all of you who are listening in today. Now, please let us know who you are.
Elena, you first. Oh.
Elena, you're muted.
Yeah.
Wait a sec, maybe I can help you.
Okay, then I'm going to introduce
Here we go.
Sorry for the struggles. I mean, would be boring probably if everything would go as smooth as we always expect. So thanks for patience and welcome everyone also from my side. I'm Elena, also working here in Opacak, focusing on all kind of different topics around app marketing. Of course, one of them being localization, which I'm super excited to be here today with you guys. And yeah, thanks very much also for the nice introduction. And I give the floor over to Ilija at that point.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Ilija. I am Customer Success Manager at AppRadar. So my responsibilities here are building strong customer relationships and making sure that your voices are being heard. And today I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use our platform most efficiently when it comes to going global with your application. So that's going to be my part after the introduction round and the theoretical part moderated by Elena.
Awesome. Yes, so let's dive into the topic and let me give you a bit of background. I mean, in general, when we're talking about why should you care, yeah, I would always say, coming back to the point of even, let's say you have a successful, well-performed strategy on a local level, and I think at some point you will reach a level where you want to go global as part of your growth strategy. So basically, I mean, if you want to succeed in a new market, you really want to take over and get some nice downloads and traffic from there, you need to really take care that you look at how to optimize your expansion strategy, really on how to succeed also in those new markets. And here comes the localization into play. I mean, obviously, yeah, great growth strategy, but what does it actually mean? When we are talking about localization, at the one hand, we are talking about the process of adapting really your store listing, right? So everything that the user sees in the end, I'm really talking here about the metadata that you have in there, the texts, the screenshots, all the creatives, but also important to say here, not only all the texts and all the visuals that you have in your store listing, but of course, you should also make sure that your app in itself, your whole in-app experience is localized, because really making sure that otherwise, right, we convince users to, yeah, we do have a localized app store listing, but in the end, the conversion rate will be very low because, or our ratings will be very bad because the user expects us to have also localized in-app experience at that point. So first of all, really making sure to seeing it on a appealing to different target markets, geographic target markets within the store listing as well as within the app. And yeah, then how does it look like on a place on how to choose where to go? That's always a question that pops up very often. And I always say here at the first stage, try to evaluate where is it worth going. So really looking now here, speaking about market opportunities. And yeah, what I always try to, I would say, highlight here is seeing, does your app even fit to the culture and to the market that you want to go? Are the features that you're building needed or wanted in that market? And then next, of course, is there space in the marketplace? How crowded is the whole market where you want to go? And yeah, last but not least, of course, how about all the different features? Are they relevant for this specific country? And yeah, here really looking then at not only that part, please go quickly back, Ilija, I'm almost finished. Thank you so much. Yeah, also one last side note that I have here on the other one hand, yeah, really making sure that you don't underestimate the time and the effort you will need for translations and optimizations of the text and the creatives in different locals. It's great what you saw from the poll that you do have a lot of natives in-house, but even, yeah, checking at the one side, do I have the natives? Do I need a translation agency? Do I need a tool that helps me with that whole process? Like we want to do here with AppRadar, with our, yeah, what Ilija will show us afterwards, with our new magic button, making your life easier here. But also looking at the other hand, once you know you have the market opportunity, you have also the resources, or you planned it accordingly, and then also check in the first place as well, markets where you already have tractions, like when you're already getting some downloads there, some, let's say you're already getting some traffic in Spain, for example, but you haven't localized it so far, it might also be a good potential whenever you start really leveraging localization there, that you really boost the traffic in there if all the mentioned points are also applicable. All right, and Ilija, here you go.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Elena. So after deciding on what markets you're going to go to, there's always the question how to actually start doing a proper keyword research in multiple localizations to go global with your application. And this topic can be quite complicated, to be honest with you, but there is a certain recommended workflow that we use in-house when we optimize our customers' applications. And I would like to show you actually how it's being done in the most efficient way, how you avoid doing things that actually are not very relevant or not very important, and focusing on the things that will actually bring your application forward. And in order to do that, I will share my screen with you directly in our own application that we have prepared and show you the workflow that works best for us. So let's do this. All right. I hope you can see my screen and everything is working properly. So there are a few steps that I would recommend you to take a closer look at. And the first question and the first step is always, what markets should you actually focus on? So what are the additional markets that you should start optimizing for? And in order to find those right markets for you, I would recommend you to start with the app metrics section in App Radar that shows you where your current traffic is coming from. So you have here the tab called countries. And as Elena pointed out a couple of minutes ago, we always recommend starting with countries where you already have some certain amount of traffic. So you already have a certain amount of installs, because the way how the algorithm is set up, growing a market where you actually already have some statistics and numbers is way easier than getting to new markets where your application is not available at all. So for that purpose, I would scroll down here on the list of all the markets and the countries where we already have gained some installs from, and select maybe 1, 2, or 3 markets to optimize my application. So what I would recommend you to do is maybe choosing smaller markets where there is not that much to lose. So you already have a few installs, but the market itself is not too big. So the things that you do at the beginning will not have that major impact if you go kind of a wrong route. In that regards here, for example, for our own application, let's see, for example, we have a few installs in Austria, in Canada, we have a few installs in Portugal, but the markets itself are not too big. And to find the right keywords for those markets, the key part at the beginning is adding as many relevant competitors as possible to your competitors' dashboard. Because based on your competitors that you have added, you will get the right inspiration that is needed to get you the right amount of keywords and keyword combinations. So you can add your competitors here. Yes,
could
please.
you zoom a little bit?
Sure.
Thanks. Perfect. Go on, sorry.
All right, perfect. So we are adding our competitors here for the markets that we would like to localize and optimize our application for. So let's say, for example, for the Argentinian market, for example, I would like to have the goal that I have as many competitors as possible so I can later on learn from their activities. So that's the first really, really important step. And after I have added my competitors, I would recommend you to go straight to keyword research. And the first step here is actually going here to keywords. And I would always start with keyword rankings because there are 2 things that you can take a closer look at here. And first and foremost, is it for your own application? All the keywords and keyword combinations your app is already ranking for organically in this particular market. And one thing that Elena already mentioned, our brand new feature here, the magic keyword translation button, will help you even for markets where you don't understand the language, don't understand user behavior, to translate those, in that regard, Spanish words into English words, which will make your life a bit easier. So the workflow that makes a lot of sense here is taking a look at the keywords that your app is already ranking for, tracking the keywords, so adding the keywords to the tracking dashboard that actually makes sense in your opinion, that you would like to optimize and localize your app for as a first step. But the really valuable step here is actually getting some inspiration from your competitors. So this here is a drop-down menu, and for all the competitors that we have added previously, you will get the same information. So just as an example, if I click on the Uber application in Argentina, I will see the entire list of all the keywords and keyword combinations Uber is already ranking for organically in Argentina, with their current ranking, with the search volume and the difficulty. So this, another word for search volume would be popularity. The higher the search volume is, the more interesting those keywords are, the more often your potential customers are entering those into the search field in the Apple App Store in that regards. The difficulty tells you how difficult is it going to be to rank for those keywords in the first place. And what you should do here is going through the entire list of all the keywords and keyword combinations this competitor is ranking for. And again, adding those to the tracking dashboard that you would like to optimize your application for. So you simply click on the plus button and all those keywords are going to be added directly here. And I will show you in a minute or two where all those information will add up. That's the first step that I would recommend you to do. But besides that, there is this very helpful feature that is called Keyword Finder. And in the Keyword Finder, two things are actually a game changer, especially at the beginning. The first one is the so-called autocomplete section. So let's say, for example, for the Argentinian market, I would like to search for the very general keyword car. So if I'm a potential customer of yours in Argentina, enter the keyword car into the search field of the Apple App Store. This is currently the drop-down menu that I will see on my smartphone. So the logic behind that should be entering keywords and keyword combinations that would describe your app accurately. Take a look and see what your customers will see on their smartphone. If you get suggestions here that make sense to you based on search volume and difficulty, same logic, same approach, please add them to the tracking dashboard. And you can do that for each and every market individually, because the autocomplete section will also be very different in different markets. So you can use that local by local, entering keywords and getting a lot of inspiration for your first round of optimization. Besides that, there is one another feature that I like a lot, especially at the beginning, and those are the tracking suggestions that are actually provided by AppRadar. So we have an AI running in the background that gives you suggestions for keyword and keyword combinations that could be interesting for your research. And you will see that in the beginning, not all of those suggestions are going to be very, very specific, but that's actually on purpose. The AI in the background is always looking for reference and relevance and asks you to tell it if this suggestion makes sense to you or not. So what I would recommend you to do is rejecting or tracking as many of those keywords as possible. The more often you reject or track a keyword here, the faster the algorithm will learn in the background and the suggestions will change immediately. So if I, for example, say that this keyword here is not relevant to me because it has a very low search volume, I will reject it. The AI will learn from that experience and adjust my suggestions in the future. And the more often I do that, the more specific and the more sophisticated the suggestions will become. And this will make my life way easier to find the right amount of keywords and keyword combinations for my first optimization round. And same logic, you can do that for each and every market individually. Again, the suggestions will always differ, and this will definitely help you to find the right strategy. And the goal of all of that work should be that my tracking dashboard here is filled up with as many keywords and keyword combinations as possible. So in Argentina, we've just started and only tracked 2 keywords here, as you can see. And the goal should be to have as many of those keywords as possible so I can afterwards implement them into my store listing. And if I give you another example of a market where we already have a lot of keyword inspiration, let's say, for example, the United States, this is how a proper tracking dashboard should look like. So a very long list of keywords and keyword combinations with the information if I'm already ranking for those keywords or not in that selected market. What is the search volume and what is the difficulty for this particular keyword? And this should give you the inspiration that you need. You can even tag those different keywords. So let's say, for example, if it's a brand keyword, a competitor keyword, a generic keyword, or a keyword for my next metadata update, so you have a better overview and can structure those things a bit more efficiently. Which leads us actually to the really important part. So a copy of this tracking dashboard that you have for each and every market individually can also be found in the workflow section that is called the store listing editor. So attention here, the store listing editor is a feature that is available in our advanced and expert plan. So if you would like to optimize your application for certain markets directly in AppRadar, you would have to go to the expert or to the advanced plan. And here, if I choose the store listing editor, I will see my store listing here for English United States, as you can see, where I can see my app name, I can see my subtitle in the Apple App Store, I can see my keyword field and all the keywords that I use inside it. And this here is the copy of my tracking dashboard that I've shown you previously. And the workflow and the logic behind that should be, based on the keywords that I'm tracking here, I should be able to implement them into my store listing one by one and optimize my application for that. And the way how this is done most efficiently, and there is one major difference between Apple and Google, is the following. So please avoid duplicates in the Apple App Store. It doesn't make any sense to use any keyword more often than once in your metadata. So you will get a notification if you're using any kind of duplicates. So it doesn't have a negative impact, but you're giving away valuable characters that could have been used on other keywords instead. So try to avoid that. And try also, especially at the beginning for new markets, place your most important keywords in the Apple App Store, either in your app name field or in the subtitle field, because those two fields here are, from the algorithm's perspective that will decide on the visibility of your application, way more important than the keyword field. So my recommendation would be the top 5, top 6 keywords that you would like to rank for. Try to place them either in the app name or in the subtitle field. And one pro tip that I would like to share with you as well, since you will not change your app name too often because of branding reasons, obviously, you can be a bit more adventurous with the subtitle. The subtitle does not play a major role in the decision-making process of most of your customers. The decision-making process for most of your customers looks like they take a look at your app icon and your app name to have a feeling about what your app is all about. The second step in this decision-making process is they take a look at your creative assets, so at your screenshots. We always say pictures drive emotions, emotions drive decisions. And the last part in this decision-making process is the topic of ratings and reviews. And as you see, the subtitle does not play a major role, so you can change the subtitle a bit more frequently. And to make this as efficient as possible, especially for new market, try to implement a certain update cycle to trigger the algorithm. For Apple and for Google, for both stores, there is one rule that you can always rely on. If you change your metadata today, so push a new app version today on Apple or on Google, both algorithms need roughly 3.5 weeks to fully detect those changes, which means even in the beginning of doing app store optimization, it doesn't make any sense to change your metadata more often than once a month. So you have to give the algorithm at least a month to analyze the metadata that has been pushed, to index everything, and the changes in keyword rankings and visibility will appear after that. If you change your metadata, let's say every 2 weeks, the chances are relatively high that you will confuse the algorithm, which will have a negative impact on your organic visibility, which is especially very, very important in the beginning. So make sure that you implement this update cycle in a best case scenario every 4 to 6 weeks. And what actually Elena told me or taught me when I started working for AppRadar is when we talk about changing your metadata every 4 to 6 weeks, it's not about changing your metadata completely, so changing everything here, all the keywords, all the subtitles. It is more about doing slight changes, so small changes, to simply to trigger the algorithm efficiently, because the algorithm will reward you for being active and changing metadata consistently, which means it's not necessary to change everything each and every month. If you do it consistently, push new metadata once a month, let's say 3 to 4 times in a row, the chances are relatively high that you will succeed and have a really good result in the markets that you would like to conquer and take advantage of. And you can do that for each and every market individually in the store listing editor, or if you have the expert license, which is the highest plan, you even have the bulk editor opportunity where you can do the same work here in one screen or on one screen only. That helps you, for example, change your app name for each and every local at the same time here. Same counts, for example, for the subtitle, as well as, for example, for the keyword field. Yeah, so you can save yourself a lot of time by doing that in the bulk editor section. Again, it's available in the expert plan, so make sure to check out the expert plan for all the features that you see here, which will make your life way, way easier. Yeah, that's basically it about the workflow that is recommended. One thing that pops up quite often, or one question that many of our customers have, or one question that many of my customers ask me is, how does it make sense to add new locals or new languages to my store listing? And the answer is, for example, if you have one really strong competitive market that you would like to conquer, as for example the US market, as a general example, you can use the smaller market that you're localizing your application for to get some additional traffic, some additional downloads from it organically, and use that revenue, use those downloads and the money that you hopefully make in those markets to be really competitive in the really competitive market, in the market where a lot of your competitors are spending loads of Apple search ads or Google USC campaigns. So mixing up that approach makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's basically it from the workflow perspective. So let's say, for example, what do we have here? That's basically it.
Okay, do you want to add something? No? Okay. I have one tip for those for you that didn't that do not have in-house agency. One tip is to go to an outside agency, of course, or yeah, try to find an agency that helps you with the translation, because it's very helpful to have someone give you at least first input if you're unsure, because the most important thing is that it sounds native. So try to avoid Google Translate translated in that ways, let's say it like this. And of course, we have an in-house agency that will also gladly help you if you have any questions on that. And now there are some open questions still. We try to answer most of them live, but yeah, Elena, would you like to jump on the left question or left questions?
Sure, yeah, would be my pleasure. So let me take on the first one that I saw here about how Apple combines keywords. And there was a question from about the keyword fly that is considered as a duplicate that Ilija brought up. And I think that's a very good example and a common mistake I think that people do when they optimize their store listing. So let me clarify on that. So if you have, for example, fly included in the title, and you have then you want to try to rank for fly bird and wings fly, that as it was written here in the example, then it would be enough that I have in my title, for example, fly. In the subtitle, I might have bird, and in the keyword field, I might have the wings, and then it will automatically, the algorithm will automatically build the combinations across the 3 metadata fields. That means I will try automatically to rank on all those combinations that were just mentioned also in that example. So no need to repeat keywords. We already try to make them combined and rank for all of them ideally. Hope this clarified it.
Cool. For the questions on the sources, I would like to leave it open. I will try to find some sources there and send it out in the follow-up email if that is fine for you. But yeah, as Ilija mentioned, the recommended cycle is 4 to 6 weeks for the algorithms, but I will try to find some sources to add to the follow-up email if that is okay for you.
Maybe here to add, I mean, in general, it is very known that Apple is usually quicker to pick up the changes, and for Google it takes a bit longer. So yeah, that's really based on our learnings and across the industry, I think also very accepted. But of course, yeah, that I think is great if you look up some sources.
I will do my best here. Last question. Still, Elena, do you want to answer that?
What was it about?
Is there anything you suggest doing if we're getting negative reviews from people saying the app isn't available in the language when those languages aren't actually listed as being available in our app info? Can we edit settings to more clearly show the language it is available in? I think maybe it didn't sound too right. Maybe you should read it yourself.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
So first of all, if I get that correctly, it's about getting negative reviews from people that are saying that the app isn't available in a certain language, but you actually have those languages localized, right? The in-app experience is localized, if I got that correctly. Yeah, so first of all, I would double check the settings in App Store Connect or in Google Play Console, making sure that I have put there all the information, that I have put there a localized store listing. And usually it should then, if the user selects the dedicated language, it should be also, if you really localize the whole experience, including the store listing, it should be also visible in that language. But then, of course, it depends on the settings that the user has. So I would just make sure that you guide the user here within the reply to the review in the right direction, double checking that in the consoles, and then answering him in a helpful way that he will then change the rating as well and find the right solution.
Cool, thanks. And last question, because we still have a minute, maybe that is for Ilija. I mean, please, whoever has time or wants to answer, go for it.
What was the question that is currently missing? Can you help us out here?
So yeah, for Apple Store, there is a dedicated field keyword to put the keywords found via Operator. It works pretty well in terms of rankings. Couldn't you find something similar, a keyword field for Google Play Store? Ili, do you want to answer that?
So you, okay, you mean, I will actually show you that. So 1 second.
I think they're referring to the keyword field per se.
Yeah. I will actually show you the differences here. So on Google, it looks a bit differently. And for Google, you actually have the so-called metadata and density. And the question is always where to place and how often you should place your keywords. As you remember, duplicates in Apple don't make sense, but in Google, you should absolutely repeat the keywords in the metadata that you would like to rank for the highest. And what we recommend is try to use your most important keywords in total in your store listing, in your metadata, something like 6, maybe 8 times. So that's kind of the sweet spot that Google will reward you for doing that, but you have to be a bit careful. So for demonstration purposes, we use, for example, the keyword bird in our Google Play demo application here, a total of 38 times. And this is actually considered spam by Google. And this means that it will have a negative impact on our visibility. So try to use your most important keywords, maybe 6 to 8 times. Test it out a little bit to find the sweet spot, but that's normally the amount of times that Google would like to see you use your most important keywords. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, shortly said, basically there is no such thing as a keyword field for Google because the algorithm works based on density. But if you want, you can, of course, reach out to me directly. You will see my email address here on the last slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. Just reach out and we can talk about it if you want. Awesome. So thank you all for joining today. We are perfectly in time. The recording will be sent out in a follow-up email, and also the unanswered question, but there was only one right now, will be also answered there. Joining. And we see you in the next session. Thank you and goodbye, guys.
Thanks a lot. Have
Bye.
a nice evening. Bye-bye.